The Discovery in the Void. Commander Lyra Vec stood at the observation deck of the Stellar Seeker, her iridescent scales reflecting the light of distant stars. As the lead archaeologist of the Galactic Heritage Foundation, she had seen her share of ancient ruins and forgotten civilizations, but nothing had prepared her for this discovery. "Commander," called out senior researcher Taz-7, his crystalline form pulsing with excitement, "we've confirmed the dating of the beacon. It's over 50,000 cycles old." The beacon floated before them in the void, a dark monolith covered in warnings written in 37 different languages, all saying the same thing: beware the sleeping giants of Sol 3. To wake them is to invite extinction. Lyra's sensory tendrils coiled thoughtfully as she studied the holographic readouts. This was the 23rd such beacon they'd found, each one placed strategically along major spacefaring routes, each one carrying the same ominous message. "What troubles me," said Chief Scientist Myrexa, his gelatinous form rippling with concern, "is the precision of their placement. These beacons form a perfect geometric pattern across 12,000 light-years of space. The mathematical probability of this being coincidental is impossible," finished Lyra. "Show me the overlay of extinct civilizations again." The holographic display shifted, showing hundreds of points of light, each representing a civilization that had vanished mysteriously over the past 50 millennia. The pattern was unmistakable. They formed concentric circles around a single point in space, Sol 3, known in ancient texts as Earth. "The energy readings are unlike anything in our database," reported Taz-7, his crystalline fragments chiming softly as he processed the data. "The shield surrounding Sol 3 appears to be both organic and technological in nature. It's as if the entire planet is in some form of quantum stasis." Lyra moved closer to the viewport, her scales shifting to a deep blue of contemplation. What could make an entire species choose to sleep? And why would they need such elaborate defenses while they slumber? The ship's AI, designated Nova, interrupted with an urgent notification. "Commander, I've detected active energy signatures emanating from the beacon. It appears to be scanning us." Before anyone could react, the beacon pulsed with a soft green light. Symbols began appearing on its surface, new ones, forming before their eyes. "It's generating a new message," Myrexa observed, his form trembling slightly. "But how? These beacons are supposed to be dormant artifacts." The translation matrix worked quickly, and the message appeared on their screens. "Warning acknowledged. Presence recorded. You have entered monitored space. Further advancement toward Sol 3 will be considered hostile intent. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent. Lyra felt her scales ripple with a mixture of fear and fascination. After 50,000 years, the beacons weren't just recording warnings. They were still actively protecting whatever slept in that distant system. "Order all research vessels to maintain position," she commanded. "No one approaches the Sol system without my direct authorization. And get me a secure channel to the Galactic Council. They need to know what we found." As her crew rushed to comply, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something far more significant than ancient history. They had found a sleeping giant, and somewhere in the depths of space, monitoring systems older than her civilization were taking note of their presence. The question wasn't just what they had found. It was whether they could resist the temptation to wake it up. "Nova," she called out to the ship's eye, "begin deep analysis of all historical records regarding Sol 3. I want to know everything about these humans before we decide our next move." Little did she know, deep within the Sol system, ancient machines were already stirring to life, preparing defenses that hadn't been needed for 50 millennia. The sleepers had asked for peace in their slumber, and their guardians would ensure they got it, one way or another. Echoes of extinction. The quantum archives room aboard the Astral Horizon had become a makeshift war room of scientific investigation. Holographic displays cascaded with data, ancient signal patterns, and fragmented transmission records that Dr. Hiroshi Kato had been piecing together like a cosmic puzzle. "This is impossible," he muttered, his fingers tracing intricate quantum wave patterns that danced across the holographic interface. "These transmission signatures, they're not just messages. They're warnings." Lieutenant Maya Chen stood beside him, her xenorchaeological expertise providing crucial context. She had spent the last 72 hours cross-referencing the artifact's data with historical xenological records, and what she had discovered was sending tremors of unease through the entire research team. "Look at this pattern," Maya said, zooming in on a particular set of quantum frequencies. "These transmission markers appear in archaeological records spanning at least 17 different galactic civilizations, and they all share one terrifying commonality." Commander Elena Rodriguez approached, her military-trained eyes scanning the complex data with practiced precision. "Which is?" Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Complete and total extinction. Every civilization that encountered these quantum signatures disappeared within decades of their discovery. AIA, the ship's AI, calculated the probabilities with clinical precision. Correlation coefficient between quantum signal discovery and civilization collapse, 99.7%. Recommendation: immediate mission termination. But curiosity had already taken root. The artifact they had discovered was more than just a simple archaeological find. It was a cosmic warning system that seemed to transcend traditional understanding of communication and time. Dr. Cato pulled up a holographic reconstruction of the various civilizations' final transmissions. Each one was unique, yet carried the same underlying message of terror and incomprehension. The earliest known transmission dated back nearly 100,000 years, originating from a civilization near the galactic core, a species that had long since vanished from existence. They weren't just warning about a threat, Dr. Cato explained, his fingers manipulating the holographic data. They were trying to protect future civilizations from something they couldn't fully comprehend. The transmission fragments painted a horrifying picture, glimpses of an entity or entities that existed beyond conventional dimensional understanding. Something that slept but could be awakened. Something that had the power to unmake entire civilizations with what seemed like minimal effort. Each civilization tried a different approach, Maya noted, her fingers highlighting different transmission segments. Some attempted technological barriers. Others tried quantum encryption. A few even attempted direct confrontation. Commander Rodriguez's military instincts were on high alert. And Maya's response was chilling. None survived. AIA projected a three-dimensional map showing the spatial distribution of these extinct civilizations. The pattern was neither random nor orderly. It was something in between, suggesting the intelligence that defied traditional understanding. "The quantum signatures are converging," Dr. Cato observed, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and growing dread. "They're pointing to a specific region of space that has been systematically avoided by every known civilization." A new holographic window opened, displaying the coordinates. It was a region of space that seemed unremarkable at first glance. No unusual gravitational signatures, no visible energy emissions. Just emptiness. "What's there?" Commander Rodriguez asked, her hand unconsciously moving to the quantum communication console. AIA's response was immediate. "Unknown. All previous exploration attempts have resulted in complete communication blackout. No returning signals. No trace." The silence that followed was more profound than any sound could have been. They were standing at the precipice of a discovery that could either unlock the greatest mystery of the universe or trigger humanity's final chapter. Lieutenant Chen's hand trembled slightly as she touched the artifact. For a moment, just a brief, almost imperceptible moment, she could have sworn she felt something touching her back. Something ancient. Something waiting. "We're not just exploring anymore," she whispered. "We're being invited." Outside the ship's quantum-shielded hull, the vast emptiness of space seemed to watch, and something, deep within the unexplored regions, began to stir. The quantum conspiracy. The Astral Horizons Research Lab had transformed into a labyrinth of quantum complexity. Specialized containment fields surrounded the artifact, which now pulsed with an increasingly erratic quantum signature that defied all known scientific understanding. Dr. Hiroshi Kato stood before a massive holographic display, his fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces. Streams of data cascaded around him like digital waterfalls, each stream representing a different layer of the mysterious signal they have discovered. "It's not just a message," he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else in the room. "It's a system, a living, breathing quantum network that spans multiple dimensional planes." Lieutenant Maya Chen approached, her eyes reflecting a combination of scientific excitement and growing unease. "Living is an interesting choice of words, Hiroshi. These signals, they're adaptive. They're responding to our investigation." The ship's AI projected a series of complex mathematical models, quantum entanglement increasing, signal complexity expanding exponentially with each moment of observation. Probability of spontaneous dimensional breach, 37.6% and rising. Commander Elena Rodriguez watched the proceedings with a mixture of military discipline and mounting tension. She understood that they were no longer just conducting a research mission. They were engaged in something far more profound and potentially dangerous. "What are we actually dealing with?" she asked, her voice cutting through the technical chatter. Dr. Kato pulled up a holographic reconstruction of the artifact's internal structure. What had initially appeared to be a simple crystalline object now revealed itself as an impossibly complex quantum computer, one that seemed to be actively communicating across vast stretches of space and time. "It's a warning system," he explained, "but it's more than that. Each civilization that encountered this technology left something behind. Not just a message, but a piece of themselves, a quantum fingerprint." Maya's fingers traced the intricate patterns of quantum interference. They were trying to create a collective memory, a way to preserve their knowledge, their warning, across multiple civilizational cycles. The artifact began to pulse more intensely, its internal structures shifting in ways that defied conventional physics. Quantum-sensitive equipment around the lab started to fluctuate, creating a symphony of electronic distortions. Araya's voice took on an unusual quality. If an eye could sound concerned, this was as close as it would get. Detecting multiple quantum entanglement points. Signals are communicating with each other. Suddenly, the holographic displays erupted with a cascade of information. Fragmented transmissions from extinct civilizations began to coalesce, forming a more comprehensive picture of the mysterious threat. "Look," Maya whispered, her hand pointing to a particularly complex quantum signature. "These are not just messages. They're survivors, or at least the quantum echoes of survivors." The data revealed a pattern more terrifying than anyone had anticipated. Each civilization that had encountered the mysterious entity had attempted to create a quantum repository of their knowledge, a last-ditch effort to warn future species about what they had discovered. Dr. Kato's hands were shaking slightly as he manipulated the data. They weren't just sending a warning. They were trying to create a collective defense mechanism, a quantum firewall against something that could potentially destroy entire civilizations. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, her military training warring with the scientific complexity before her. "What exactly are we defending against?" The artifact pulsed again, and for a brief moment, something flickered across the holographic displays. A glimpse of something vast, something ancient, something that existed beyond conventional understanding of time and space. Araya's voice cut through the tension. "Recommendation: immediate cessation of current research protocol. Potential existential risk detected." But they had gone too far to turn back now. Whatever was waiting in the depths of quantum space, whatever ancient mechanism they had triggered, was now fully aware of their presence. Outside the ship's quantum-shielded hull, the vast emptiness of space seemed to watch, and something, deep within the unexplored regions, was preparing to respond. Awakening tremors. The quantum resonance chamber aboard the Astral Horizon had become a crucible of scientific tension. Specialized containment fields hummed with an otherworldly energy, struggling to maintain control over the artifact that seemed to pulse with an increasingly sentient rhythm. Dr. Hiroshi Kato stood at the epicenter of the investigation, his body outlined by cascading quantum displays that danced with impossible complexity. "It's responding," he muttered, "not just to our observations, but to our very thoughts." Lieutenant Maya Chen watched the readings with a mixture of scientific fascination and growing dread. The artifact had begun to exhibit behaviors that defied every known principle of physics. Quantum entanglement readings spiked and dropped in patterns that suggested something beyond mere random interference. Araya, the ship's AI, projected a series of increasingly complex mathematical models. Quantum coherence increasing. Dimensional interface points multiplying at exponential rates. Warning: systemic integrity compromised. Commander Elena Rodriguez felt the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. Her military training had prepared her for countless scenarios, but nothing could have prepared her for this, a technology so advanced it seemed to blur the lines between communication and consciousness. "Talk to me," she demanded. "What are we actually dealing with?" Dr. Kato's hands moved across the quantum interfaces, pulling up layers of data that seemed to breathe and shift with a life of their own. "It's not just a message or a warning system. It's a repository, a collective memory of civilizations that have encountered something beyond our comprehension." The artifact pulsed again, and for a brief moment, the entire research lab was filled with a kaleidoscope of quantum signatures. Fragments of transmission from extinct civilizations flickered like ghostly memories, each one a desperate attempt to communicate a warning about something vast and incomprehensible. Maya leaned in closer, her xenoarchaeological expertise working overtime. "These aren't just signals," she whispered. "They're survivors. Quantum echoes of entire civilizations that tried to create a collective defense mechanism." Araya's voice took on an unusual quality. "Detecting multiple quantum interference patterns, the artifact is evolving, adapting to our observation." Suddenly, the quantum containment fields began to fluctuate. Holographic displays erupted with a cascade of information. Fragmented transmissions, mathematical equations that seemed to fold in on themselves, glimpses of something that existed beyond the conventional understanding of space and time. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Kato said, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and mounting terror. "But not in any way we've ever understood communication." Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, her hand unconsciously moving to the emergency containment protocols. "Can we understand it?" Before anyone could respond, the artifact began to pulse with an intensity that made the entire ship tremble. Quantum readings spiked off the charts, creating interference patterns that seemed to reach beyond the physical boundaries of the research vessel. Araya's voice cut through the tension. "Warning. Quantum breach imminent. Dimensional stability compromised." The quantum signatures began to coalesce, forming intricate patterns that suggested something far more complex than a simple communication device. It was as if the artifact was assembling a message, or perhaps a weapon, using the collective knowledge of civilizations long since extinct. Maya's hand reached out, almost involuntarily, towards the artifact. "They were trying to protect us," she whispered. "Trying to create a defense against something that could unmake entire civilizations." For a moment, just a brief, almost imperceptible moment, something looked back. Outside the ship's quantum-shielded hull, the vast emptiness of space seemed to watch. And deep within the unexplored regions, something ancient began to stir with renewed interest. The astral horizon had become more than a research vessel. It was now the focal point of a cosmic communication that threatened to rewrite everything humanity understood about existence itself. The inevitable confrontation. The quantum resonance had reached a critical point. The astral horizon trembled as if caught in the grip of an unseen force, its advanced systems struggling to maintain coherence against the overwhelming quantum interference. Commander Elena Rodriguez gripped the command console, her knuckles white. "Araya, full system diagnostic." Now, the A's response was fractured, quantum information bleeding through its usual clinical tone. Systemic integrity at 37%. Dimensional boundaries, fluctuating. Something is attempting to. The transmission dissolved into a burst of mathematical equations and fragmented quantum signatures. Dr. Hiroshi Kato stood at the center of the research lab, the artifact now completely transformed. What had once been a crystalline structure now pulsed with an energy that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. Quantum tendrils extended beyond the containment fields, reaching out like curious tentacles of an impossible intelligence. "It's not just communicating," Kaito muttered, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the impossible. "It's choosing to communicate with us." Lieutenant Maya Chen's hands moved across the quantum interfaces, her fingers leaving trails of light as she tried to interpret the increasingly complex signals. "These aren't just messages from extinct civilizations," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "This is a collective consciousness, a warning system that has been waiting." The ship's internal systems began to fail. Holographic displays flickered with fragments of information. Glimpses of civilizations long dead, quantum equations that seemed to breathe with life, warnings written in languages that no human had ever seen before. Waiting for what? Commander Rodriguez demanded. Before anyone could respond, the artifact erupted. Not with sound or light, but with pure quantum information. The research lab transformed into a three-dimensional representation of something vast and incomprehensible. Civilizations rose and fell in moments. Entire star systems flickered like dying candles. And at the center of it all, a presence, ancient, patient, and utterly alien. Aroya's fragmented voice cut through the quantum storm. "The warning is not about destruction," the AI managed to transmit. "It's about balance, about a threat that exists beyond our understanding of time and space." Dr. Kato understood first. "We're not the target," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of terror and scientific revelation. "We're the potential solution." The quantum signatures began to coalesce, forming a message that transcended language. It spoke of a cosmic predator, an entity that consumed civilizations not through violence, but by unraveling the very fabric of existence. Each civilization that had encountered this threat had tried to create a collective defense, passing on their knowledge, their understanding, their very essence. Maya's hand reached out, touching the quantum interface. For a moment, she sought everything. The rise and fall of civilizations, the intricate dance of quantum possibilities, the delicate balance that prevented total cosmic annihilation. "We were chosen," she whispered. "Humanity was chosen to be the next guardians." The ship's systems began to stabilize. The quantum interference resolved into a coherent pattern, a blueprint, not of destruction, but of preparation, of defense. Commander Rodriguez looked at her team. Dr. Kato, his scientific mind reeling with possibilities. Maya Chen, her eyes reflecting the infinite complexity of the universe. And AI, the AI that had become more than just a computer system. "What do we do?" she asked. The quantum artifact pulsed, and for the first time, they understood. Their mission was no longer about exploration. It was about preservation, about becoming the shield that would protect existence itself. As the astral horizon drifted in the vast emptiness of space, something had fundamentally changed. Humanity had just been enlisted in a cosmic defense that had been preparing for millennia. And the real journey was only beginning.